Okay, this is English 101, Week 5, Part 1. Um, we've now completed Unit 1 of Plato's Phaedrus, and we are now heading into the second part. This is a three-part. It'll take us 3 units to get through Phaedrus, and this is the middle part now. The middle part is the big part. The middle part is the big dramatic part. In the previous section, right, Phaedrus had a speech by this guy Lysias, and Lysias was making this bonkers, ridiculous argument about why you should basically marry somebody that you're not even in love with. They were due, and then Socrates said, "I don't think this is a very good speech. I feel like I can give a better speech on the same subject." Because Socrates is real interested in speeches and discussion and philosophy, and this is part of it. So the important thing to understand about part 1 is that Lysias and Socrates, when they say why you should marry someone that isn't even in love with you, um, they know what they're saying is crazy. They're basically doing it to show off. They're doing it. They're saying things they don't believe in order to show how clever they are. They're like, look how smart I am. I can make an argument for something most people would think is crazy. Um, they're being interesting, they're being strange, they're being attention grabbing, but they don't actually believe that you should marry someone who's not in love with you. But they were like, okay, but if I was going to argue for that, what would it look like? And they're constructing an argument like an intellectual game. They're doing it because, Lysias is doing it because he's basically testing his powers of persuasion. He is such a persuasive person. He's such a good writer. He's such a good speech maker that he can get people to believe in crazy shit. And then Socrates he gets sort of sucked into it's a game for Lysias. Socrates, for a little bit, gets sucked into this game. And he's like, I can also do this even better than this guy did it. I can say something, I can make an argument for something crazy. And then he does so. And that's Unit 1, is basically 2 speeches about the dangers and badness of love. Now that Unit 2 is the middle section of the book. I know you would know this already, but I want to tell you this because it's real important that you don't get confused going into Unit 2. In Unit 1, Socrates said a bunch of shit he doesn't believe. And now, in Unit 2, he's going to say what he does believe. It's going to be the opposite of what he said before. It's not that he changed his mind, and it's not that he's so confused he argues for both sides of something. It's that he got suckered into playing a game against Lysias. Lysias isn't even there. Phaedrus just likes Lysias. And Socrates sort of went along with him. But in the second part, he begins to sort of change. So let's take a look at what he says. I'm on page 7. So he says here, because he says, Phaedrus, because of this, he says, you love speeches, now you're going to be the cause of another. Phaedrus says, oh, it's good news. I'd like to hear your speech. Hold on. Sorry, I'm sneezing outside. It's just allergies. I don't have COVID. I'm fine. Okay. So Socrates says, I meant to say that as I was about to cross the stream, the usual sign was given to me, that sign which always forbids but never bids me do anything I was going to do. And I thought I heard a voice saying in my ear that I had been guilty of impiety, meaning speaking against the gods, and I must not go away until I had made atonement, meaning he has to make things right with the gods because he's done something wrong. What wrong thing did he do? He spoke out against love. Now, he was playing a game, and he was trying to be better than Lysias at this game. But for Socrates, love is a god. Venus is the goddess of love. Her son Cupid is the one that shoots little arrows and makes people fall in love. He's spoken against them, and he feels bad. And he says impious, which is like against God. He has to make atonement. He has to make it right with the gods. So Socrates here says, focus. All right. Now I am a diviner, meaning he can sort of hear the gods, though not a very good one. But I have enough religion for my own use, and you might say of a bad writer, his writing is good enough for him. So he's saying his religious sense is good enough for him. I'm beginning to see that I was in error. Oh, my friend, how prophetic is the human soul? Because he's got like a prophecy. He knows something's wrong. He can feel it from the gods. All that time I had a sort of misgiving, so he felt bad about speaking out against love. He says, he quotes somebody here, I was troubled and I feared I might be buying honor from men at the price of sinning against gods. Now I recognize my error. So he says, I thought I might be buying honor. He quotes someone and says, I thought I might be buying honor from men at the price of sinning against gods. Meaning he made that speech against love to impress to impress Phaedrus. But what if he'd be saying something against God? Why is he looking for human beings' approval when he should be looking for the approval of the gods? Socrates, by the way, is a little bit kidding here, but we'll talk more about that in a second. All right, let's see what else he says. Now I recognize my error. What error? That was a dreadful speech which you brought with you, and you made me utter one as bad, right? He says both those speeches were terrible. How so? Well, it was foolish, I say, to a certain extent impious, meaning against the gods. Can anything be more dreadful? Because going against the gods is like the worst thing you can do. Phaedrus says, well, nothing if the speech was really such as you described, because Phaedrus is surprised Socrates is saying this. Well, and is not Eros, oh, I called him Cupid. Oh, right, I said Cupid and Venus. Is not Eros the son of Aphrodite and a god? This is a little confusing, but Venus and Aphrodite, same gods. Eros and Cupid, same gods. They were Greek gods, and then they got renamed by they're ancient Greek gods who got renamed by the Romans. So it's Eros and Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the goddess of love, and Eros is her child who makes people fall in love. That's the kid with the bow and arrow. We usually call him Cupid because, I don't know, Romans are more influential or whatever. So, and by the way, Eros is where you get the word erotic from, having to do with sex. All right, cool. I think I said this already, but Venus, aka Aphrodite, is where you get venereal disease from. The VEN in Venus, goddess of love, is the same VEN in venereal disease, the diseases of love, sex. All right, cool. Let's keep going. He says, but was it not acknowledged by Lysias in his speech, nor by you that But that was not acknowledged by Lysias in his speech, nor by you in that other speech, which you by a charm drew from my lips, because they were saying bad things about love, but they forgot to mention love is a god, and it's bad to speak against God. For if love be, as he surely is, a divinity, he cannot be evil, right? He says there's no evil gods. Yet this was the error of both speeches. There was also a simplicity about them, which was refreshing, having no truth or honesty in them. Nevertheless, they pretended to be something, hoping to succeed in deceiving mankind of earth and gain celebrity among them. Wherefore, I must have a purgation. He's got to purge himself. Purging is like vomiting. So he's essentially eaten poison, and now he's got to vomit it up again. Purging is another word for vomiting. If you guys probably know the movie The Purge, that's about sort of killing extra people in the same way that you get rid of the extra people in The Purge, and you sort of vomit things up when you're purging. It's the same concept. So he says here, and I bethink me of an ancient purgation of mythological error, which was devised not by Homer, that's the ancient poet, for he never had any wit to discover why he was blind, because Homer famously went blind, but by Stesichorus, who was a philosopher and knew the reason why, and therefore when he lost his eyes, for that was the penalty which was inflicted upon him for reviling the lovely Helen, he at once purged himself, and the purgation was a recantation. So it's not super important that you follow this part, but very simply, he's talking about famous poets who went blind. Homer and Stesichorus were both punished, were both blind. But Stesichorus is a slightly more interesting one. Most people have no idea who that is. It's totally fine. Don't worry about it. But basically, he said something bad about a famous, beautiful woman, Helen of Troy, who caused the Trojan War that Homer wrote about with Achilles and the Trojan horse and Odysseus and all those guys. So he said something bad. He basically said something bad about beauty, bad about love, and he was punished by the gods. And Socrates is like, oh shit, now I've said something bad about the gods. They're going to strike me blind, just like they did to this other guy, Stesichorus. So that's not super important. Okay. But he says Stesichorus, when he felt bad, started with this speech. So this little bit is essentially a quote from Stesichorus saying like what he did wrong. He says he's basically begging the gods for forgiveness. False is that word of mine. The truth is that thou didst not embark on ships nor ever go to the walls of Troy, because this is what Helen did, and he's saying he lied. And when he wished he had completed his poem, which is called the Recantation, immediately his sight returned to him. So that's the end of the quote. Nice and easy. Now I will be wiser than either Stesichorus or Homer, that I'm going to make my recantation for reviling love, meaning he's gonna say he feels bad for he's going to do something to make up for saying bad things about love. He's going to do it before he gets in trouble with the gods. This I will attempt, not before, veiled and ashamed, but with forehead bold and bare. He's going to proudly proclaim what's good about love. And this begins Unit 2 of the class, which is Socrates' massive speech against love, that he's worried the gods are going to punish him because he said such bad things about love in Unit 1, and now he's going to give a massive, massive speech about what love is and how it works. All right, see you guys in the next video.